Hello folks, I hope everyone is having a good day. Hopefully by now we've all had a chance to check out Jurassic World Rebirth. It's still doing well, taking over $6.5 million at the time of writing this. So let's get into spoiler talk. This won't be as in-depth as the analysis videos, but rather more a quick go through the film covering the points I want to talk about. I won't be covering everything, I'll save that for the future analysis video. Obviously, this is your spoiler warning. Now, let's get into it. It makes sense that Jurassic World would have another facility for the development of dinosaur hybrids and not just do everything on site. Similar to the factory floor and showroom situation we had with Isla Nublar and Isla Sorna. I've seen a lot of people having a problem with the whole candy wrapper caught on the door scenario, saying it's completely ridiculous, but I disagree. The whole thing is a great example of chaos theory for me. The idea that something as small and innocuous as a Snickers wrapper, dropped heedlessly by an arrogant employee, getting into the electronics and then bringing down the whole facility, well...
That's chaos theory.
Overall, I like that sequence. The idea of dinosaurs not surviving in modern climates does feel a bit like a recon of Dominion, where everything seemed to be going well for them and they were integrating. It's like I said in my initial review, I think the producers and the studio shit themselves over the reception that Dominion got and decided to just go back to basics, but not pretend that none of it ever happened. The idea that public interest has waned does seem outlandish, especially to dinosaur and franchise fans like myself, especially considering how much money each of these films make, but I will counter that with this. On my second screening, there was a mother and her son sat a few seats away from my friend and I, and the mother was just sat on her phone the entire runtime of the film. She didn't even have the brightness down either or any privacy screen, so it was really obvious to see that she was on Messenger and WhatsApp, and it was annoying as fuck. I know that opens up a whole other discussion on cinema etiquette in general, but my point is that yes, to nerds like myself, the idea of people being bored with dinosaurs might seem inconceivable, but we don't represent everyone. We just talk about it a lot online. Now I might be wrong about this, but how many cars are made nowadays that still say objects in the mirror are closer than they appear? I know we like to keep calling back to classic moments in the franchise, but as I've said before, when you keep calling back, you don't make anything new, and this movie does actually try to have some original scenes and sequences. But stuff like that, it just irritates me. One Easter egg I did like was Crichton Middle School on the bus behind Krebs. The radio misnames the apatosaur, calling it a brachiosaur, and I think that's probably deliberate, that they don't even care enough to get the names right. These last dinosaurs in North America are just a pain in the ass now on your morning commute. In a way, I'm glad we got no confirmation on Rexy or Blue. So far as we know, they could still be alive. I imagine Rexy, if she's still alive, is still fine chilling in Biosyn Valley, and Blue might have been smart enough to migrate with Beta down towards the equator. That's just my own personal headcanon until we get confirmation otherwise. We get introduced to our main characters, and like I said before, I think they're all charismatic, they just don't feel the same as characters from previous films. Krebs is fine, he's the money-hungry asshole, and Zora and Duncan are mercenaries with unresolved trauma from the people they've lost. Like, they're fine, they're just not as memorable as Grant, Sattler, or Malcolm. Or even Owen and Claire. Henry Loomis is the closest we get. His motivation, unlike the others, isn't money, but rather just the chance of seeing a dinosaur in the wild. And he goes from someone who just wants to be in a lab, becoming a slight adrenaline junkie in the field. He gets a quirk with eating mints loudly and literally takes a minute to decide to come along, which is kinda funny, I guess. So with dinosaurs still being open source, there's a lot of new species kicking about. We see a Dunkleosteus, and I guess somebody cloned a Meg somewhere when we see the jaws behind Krebs in the bar. That's all cool, but where's my goddamn Plesiosaurus? Nessie representation now, please. We get introduced to the rest of the team, and I was quite happy to see Ed Skrein. He's an actor I've liked since he was in Deadpool and then the original iteration of Dario Naharis in Game of Thrones. I was hoping he'd play a bigger part, but no, he's the first to die, lol. Apparently he was meant to be in it more and team up with Krebs to betray everyone, but that got changed for reasons I don't know. It takes a while to get going, but that's because we have to start the second narrative with the family and then rush into that. They're basically establishing two storylines and them joining them in the second act, but it means it takes a little bit longer to really begin. David Koepp has been pitching that idea of the family being attacked by aquatic dinosaurs since Jurassic Park 3, and now he finally gets to do it. On the subject of the family, I spent most of the film waiting for Xavier to die, and then it didn't happen because they go for the arc where he actually steps up in a dangerous situation, and yeah, fine, I guess. On the topic of the Mosasaurus, I'm fairly certain it's a different one than we've seen before. With people making all their own dinosaurs, there might be a few of them kicking around the ocean now, but I got the impression that this Mosa was bred on Saint Hubert and was then released around the time of the opening, since they say it mostly circles the island. I know the Jurassic subreddit have been verbally kicking the shit out of each other over this debate, but I fall into the different one camp. It's smaller and just looks different. The series has done redesigns before, with the Raptors and JP3, but then they got retconned later. Only thing I'm not sure of is if there's actually meant to be two, cause there is that scene where they talk about the signal ghosting and then Duncan says it's actually two signals, and at that point they are tracking the Mosa, so I'm not really sure. If the OG Mosa was there, I'm sure it would have attacked and fucked some shit up. Also, I know about that picture from Instagram of early concept art or such that shows a dead mosasaur with hunters, but that's been confirmed, I believe, not to be canon. As far as what is and what isn't canon goes, to me at least, nothing is confirmed until mentioned in the films or by the filmmakers. Deleted scenes don't also count. As we know, if that Lost World board scene had been there, then nothing from the original film would have survived. The Mosasaurus chase is great. It really feels like the chase sequence from Jaws, and they managed to get the sample. And then it comes back with backup and we see the Spinos fuck shit up and kill Bobby. He's all gung-ho and ready to kill some dinosaurs and then gets taken out instantly, which kind of ties with the themes of the series overall. Mankind's arrogance always gets the better of us in these movies. I'd have liked to have seen more of Ed Skrein, but I like what they did. And you know, he definitely traumatized Isabella for life when he looked at her as he was dragged out. I like the way the Spino just swims off with him and you can still hear him struggling. Then we get the moment where Krebs goes full Burke from Aliens and lets Teresa fall off the boat because he never wanted to rescue them anyway. He basically shows he's an asshole and then stays an asshole. His loyalty isn't to the team, but to making all the money, which is a line I really like, by the way, as I think it's very true. Also, him not helping Teresa on the boat feels a little bit like it was inspired by Dodgson throwing Sarah overboard in the Lost World novel. I like Nina's death. The reveal of the Rock being a Spino is also something Kep wrote in the original Lost World screenplay with the Buck, and it's neat, even if it does feel like they're recycling old story ideas here that they never went with. She gets it rough and it drags her away and there's a lot more blood. I thought her and Leclerc were meant to be together at first, but his reaction seems to suggest they're just good friends. Duncan seems more torn up about it than he does. Dolores is suitably adorable. We have 3 cats and she reminds me a lot of them. Also, the idea of a cute dinosaur helping a girl mentally get through the island is a pretty nice one. I really thought I was going to get my wish and the raptors were going to kill Xavier, but then a Mutodon memes down and kills it in the background. And then that's it for the raptors. I really wish we'd seen more of them and gotten a good look at those new designs. I understand the raptors have been pretty prominent in pretty much every film, but that's because people like them. I think the Mutodons are cool, I just wish we didn't have to lose the raptors at the expense of them. Also, to all the raptor stans who are pissed off at their favourite dinosaur getting killed off in favour of a new, meaner variant, as someone who went through the same thing in 2001, all I can say is, raptor stans, I see you. The Titanosaurs are pretty cool. I like the Anurognathus moving around them as well. Again, there's Kep bringing another unused element from the Lost World with having them mating, which was going to happen with the Memenchisaurs. It does its best to give us that sauropod wonder, and Jonathan Bailey does a good job of conveying that too. It's a nice Jurassic wonder scene. Then we get the raft scene, which is probably my favourite sequence in the film, along with the Mosasaur chase and the attack. It's taken straight out of the first book, with slight differences. You've got the sleeping T-Rex, the Dilophosaur cameo, and the dead Parasaur. I really like the design of this Rex. It's very chonky and its roar sounds a bit fucked up, reminding us that these dinosaurs on this island aren't quite right, even if we don't always see it visually. There's a callback that I don't mind where it bites down on the raft like it does with the car in the original. I think maybe because this is more of a behavioural callback than just replicating the shots verbatim. I also love how the teeth push down on the raft as Bella is under there. It doesn't kill anyone, which is a shame. From the trailer I was expecting a few more people to have been taken out in that scene, but that's okay. And this is its only scene, which is disappointing, but maybe the studio felt Rexy or Roberta or whatever the hell you want to call her had too much presence in the last few movies. Also, I have no idea on the structural integrity of rafts, so I have nothing to contribute to the debate about whether or not it could survive a Rex bite. Maybe it wasn't biting down with full force and could have been more curious about it. These could have been the first people it'd seen in years, or ever, if it was born in the wild. I really like the reveal of the Quetzalcoatlus coming over the cliff and then you realise it's got Leclerc in its mouth. I feel bad for him. I've seen a few people compare him to Eddie Carr, but I think, other than him trying to help the others and getting killed in the process, it doesn't have the same impact because his character doesn't have the same presence as Eddie. I feel like we all knew Eddie better and he just had more of a character than Leclerc does. But still, cool death. I do like all the kills in this film, like I said, I just wish there had been a few more. Yeah, I know the helicopter crew die, and I'm not sure if that's a nod to Dino Crisis, but I don't really count them as they're only in one scene. Once Leclerc goes, you know Krebs will die, but aside from that, there's no tension for which characters will live or die. I know some people thought Duncan was going to die in the climax, but there's that age-old rule of unless you see someone explicitly die or get jumped and fall off screen, they ain't dead. I like the red compies, they're pretty cool. The Mutadons at the gas station just feels a lot like a retread of the Raptors in the kitchen, especially when they're recreating the same damn shots from the original. Those are the callbacks that I don't like. The Raptors were meant to be in this sequence, and then I believe they get scared off or fought off by the Mutadons, but we don't get that in the final cut. Speaking of, there's a lot of lines and shots in the trailers that just aren't in the film. I know that's nothing new, especially if you look at the trailer for Rogue One, another Gareth Edwards film. I know trailers don't need to show actual footage from the final cut, especially since so many are very spoilery. It can be more of a vibe, like the original Aliens or Alien Free trailers were, but I feel like it also feels like we're going through a bit of a post-COVID, we're just desperate to get you into the cinema to spend money, so here are some more fun lines. A lot of people called it Marvel dialogue, which I disagree with. I think that's just another symptom of modern poor film criticism. But none of those lines that people didn't like from the trailer aren't in the film, or if they are, they appear in different scenes and context.
None of what you just said is good.
That's not what she says there. She says that's discouraging.
That's kind of our specialty.
She says that in a different scene under a different context.
This island was the research facility for the original Jurassic Park.
Zora doesn't even say these lines, and the information from them is delivered differently. But I guess it gets the information across in the trailer very quick and snappy. Maybe we should stop judging movies literally from the trailers before they're even out. Anyway, I got off track there. There's a few more references to Crichton's second book during the gas station attack. The idea that an area can change territory from day to night is taken from the book, with Carnotaurs occupying the worker village on Sorna at night and then swapping out to raptors during the day. Zora and Krebs hiding under the car is similar to how Dogson and Sarah hide under the jeep from the wrecks. The drain that the family escaped down is similar to how the group gets away from the raptors in the climax of the second book, but instead they follow wires to a tunnel. The Mutadon chewing his way through the bars is like the raptors chewing their way through the skybeam in the original book. Krebs gets the most brutal death. I wasn't sure they could do that in a 12A, but apparently you can. That was cool. It just chomps him like a chocolate bar, and I liked it. I wish that Astortis had more screen time, like I said in the original review. I thought they were going to introduce it earlier in the film, like maybe halfway, and then it would have had more of a presence, and instead it just basically becomes the final obstacle to get away from. Shout out to the Ankylosaur cameo. Oh, and the escape boat is from the second book as well, but basically how they managed to get off Sorna. Duncan's final sacrifice is fine, it's done quick enough. Apparently, Edwards suggested having the new Rex come in and fight the Distortus, but the studio said no because there's been enough dino fights, and the one in Dominion was basically just there for the sake of it, so I get it. The ending is similar to the first film, with them sailing away, watching dolphins, and with meaningful looks. They decide to do the right thing for humanity and get absolutely no money for it. It's like I said before, the film is fine, I just would have liked more to it. More going on, more deaths, and more depths to the characterizations. I think that's why I really like The Lost World. The stakes keep going in that film because there are so many. You don't know all of them, but they create more tension and impact. Ajay dies, and then Roland checks out. David Kep gets snacked on, so now the Bucks kill the civilian, and shit, that's pretty bad. Here it's like, okay, Leclerc's gone, so Krebs will be next, because they're not going to kill Xavier. Again, I do like the film, I think it's fine, I just wish there was more. And yes, I know Spielberg told Edwards to leave the audience hungry, but I don't want to leave hungry. Subverting expectations can work in some instances, but I prefer to have my expectations exceeded. So that's my spoiler thoughts on Jurassic World Rebirth. Do you agree with me, or do you think I've been smoking too much weed like Xavier? God, I wish I was. Is there any bits of the film that I forgot that you feel I should have mentioned? Let me know in the comments down below, and if you like watching my Jurassic ramblings, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. As always, I've been Stumo, and I'll see you again soon.